Being a famous scientist by never admitting you're wrong. By me, Douche LaRue. Let's talk. So in science, things progress by learning things, right? What is regarded as correct at one point in time is later proven to be incorrect, and the science changes, right? Science evolves with new ideas, new data sets, new measurements, new equations. It's all in flux, right? Well, maybe, but mostly it's about a bunch of scientists that are so vested in what they've spent the past month, year, decade, or lifetime doing that they don't want to change. The new stuff must be wrong, or they would have discovered it. Unless, of course, it's their idea, but if anyone else proposes it, it's wrong, unless they're a friend or bought you a beer or perhaps dinner. How to be a famous scientist. Point number 2, never admit you are wrong. The science changes, but a lot of the new science is wrong. And you were really careful, right? How could you be wrong? New data, new schmata, I'll just ignore it. I will just speak louder. Or perhaps I will use a new font. That's relevant. If you never admit you're wrong, then you will always have something to talk about. People will invite you to their meetings to appear on television like Fox to represent the other viewpoint. You'll be a star. Changing your mind indicates weakness and worse, imperfect knowledge, so don't do it. But what if you are wrong? What if you did screw up? What if the new theory is more appealing? No problem. Just argue that the new theory is wrong, the old theory is right, and change the old theory to match the new theory. If anyone says you're changing your theory to match the new theory, you just say, no, you're changing the new theory to match the old theory. Then show some weird figure, graph, or equation that you claim proves your point. Let me give you an example. Scientists working on a project for 30 years, new PhD proposes alternate theory. Old scientist rejects new theory, says it's crazy. Writes a paper on rejecting the new theory, ignores all new data, focuses on old data, ignores referencing new PhD's theory, adamant about focus of old theory. 5 years later, old scientist discovers new theory himself. PhD student's work is referenced obscurely about some other matter. So if anyone complains, he did reference the PhD student's work, though not in the proper context, and the old scientist owns the new theory. So summary, how to never admit you're wrong and become a famous scientist. Ignore new data or analyze the data in such a way that nothing makes sense. Accuse the new theory of being medieval in its scope. 3, go on a publicity tour focusing why the old theory is correct and the new theory is absolutely wrong. 4, find personal issues associated with the adherence to the new theory. They are cat people, not dog people. They drive lame cars. They're vegan, something like that. 5, consider the new theory by focusing on something that has nothing to do with the problem. 6, find obscure problems with the new theory, like which font was used in published figures. 7, adopt the new theory as your own and claim that the new theory was contained in the original theory. Remember, what scientist is remembered for his or her mistakes? So don't admit to them and argue you haven't made any. These are idiots tormenting you, and the new theory is basically the same one as the old one anyway. I rest my case.